Welcome back, everyone. We've got one game under our belts that MDK will want to forget very quickly, and I surely hope that our next one, T1 versus TES, will have a different gold graph, perhaps a bit of a closer gold graph. That would be nice, but what a matchup. Immediately we get our very first LCK versus LPL bout, Jack.
We do, and it's T1 as well. And we remember T1 from the World Championship. We do have to say that they are definitely a different quality team now that they were then, but they do have that muscle memory, right? You never know if they're going to be able to pull it back.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy, because even when I posted on Weibo, no one has faith. Everyone's looking at T1 simply because of the fact that Worlds, guess who they took down? They took down BLG and Swiss, went to LNG, took down JDG, took to Weibo.
They did, and it is still the same roster. Zeus in the top lane, Oner in the jungle, then Faker in the mid lane, and the bot lane of Gumayusi and Keria. They are the defending world champions, so everybody is looking at them. And moving over to top esports, the second seed from the LPL with 369, Tian, Creme, JackeyLove, and whoop, that is a Meiko.
Yep.
Should be.
Yep.
Should be.
Meiko.
I don't know how she
got the
got
wrong
in there.
person there. That guy's the coach. He's with the team, but it's not him.
Definitely.
So
definitely
yes.
Meiko.
So that's we already talked about it. I already kind of slipped it in there, but that's the talk. That's for the Chinese fans, the LPL fans. They look at T1 and said, "You literally just aced us at Worlds to get here. It's insane. We are looking for revenge."
And top esports, of course, with the hangover of MSI as well. They didn't do as well as they wanted there, so they want to prove it. And an interesting tidbit here is there are 8 world champions in this matchup alone.
So cool.
Every other match has maximum of 2. It's crazy, GB.
No, it absolutely is, and I think that's why you can never really count any of these two teams out, because despite having a poor season domestically from the T1 side, they're coming into this as a world championship where they've had a rough time when they came in last year, and still they won the world championship. I will say I think this one is different, because last year Faker subbed out, he came in, he had a little break. That was not the case this time. He just struggled in general, and I think coming into a world championship where the meta shifts, you can still have hope for Faker, because he is Faker. He is the GOAT. He is the guy that you're looking to rely on when you need experience on
Yeah, never placed under top 4 at World specifically, and I think when you harken back to last year, Jad, it is because even then, T1 wasn't the team you would have picked out of the LCK to win. In fact, the odds were stacked against them even going into those final 4 matches, into those final 2 matches rather. So we know that they can turn it around. The problem is, how much do they have to turn around here? Talk to me about how worried we are, and what is it that we're worried about out of their summer performance?
Yeah, overall team cohesion does seem down. I think Zeus in particular dominates early laning phase, then dies on his own. Faker's laning phase is probably the weakest it's been in, I don't even really remember a time when it was weaker than this.
Yeah.
But like literally their plot armor was so damn thick last year. I don't know how thick it's going to be this year.
I mean, it was thick when they went up against KT and somehow managed to get through,
Game
right?
5.
Like, that was insane. And yes, the early lanes for him, I remember the Caitlyn games, the Tristana games. His early lanes were just horrendous. So when you saw those patch notes, Syndra, Orianna, like mages entirely, maybe that changes it all for them. But you are right about team cohesion. They are a lesser sum of their parts. They are so good individually.
Yeah.
They just needed to get it together.
But I am extremely worried about them going up against top esports, because I think it's not just all these things you're talking about, right? Their laning phase can be solid though, right? Keria and Gumayusi is one of the best 2v2 bot lanes when they get to play 2v2. Hasn't happened that much this year because of lane swaps. You know, a team that was very good at pioneering lane swaps in the LPL, top esports.
True.
They've been loving moving around in the early game on the map. Having Zeus versus 369 is not so much going to be a lane matchup, it's going to be an understanding of playing the swaps. Zeus doesn't get to show why he might be one of the best top laners, because he might not even play in a top lane isolated matchup. So I think, yes, I'm actually more happy about Faker on this patch and less happy about Creme on this patch, but I still think coming into this and on paper, top esports are favorites.
And I like that you talked about the top lane matchup, and that is also our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, featuring 369 and Zeus.
In the first featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz at the Swiss stage, we have one hell of a face-off. 369 versus Zeus in the top lane, top esports versus T1. 369 has proven himself to be one of the best top laners in the world. But for top esports to step out of the shadow of BLG, they'll need to dominate at Worlds. Beating the reigning champs would set the tone for their tournament run.
Eyes on Knight, can he get more damage down? 369 in the midst of everybody, and he's going all out into the back line. Only the support left standing.
Zeus is no stranger to this matchup and has bested 369 more than once. But with T1 barely qualifying to the world stage, do they have what it takes to replicate their 2023 success?
Racing on the backside, trying to buy some space with a shockwave. It's clean, and in comes the curtain call. And it's Zeus wreaking havoc on all of JDG.
In today's matchup, it's two titans in the top lane. Who will draw first blood in the Swiss stage of Worlds 2024?
We'll see exactly, Dad, who will draw first blood, and it's such a loaded matchup in so many ways. Do you want to do predictions? Because I feel like this one really deserves it.
I think it merits it.
Okay.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Who's starting?
Well, I can start. And I mean, so it's T1 as Worlds, right?
Right.
You always have to give them the credit because of how they've been historically. I normally hate historic analysis, but with T1, they get the pass. But I will say as well, if I'm not saying top esport wins this, I am not doing them the respect they deserve from the domestic season they had. I mean, you normally see them as chokers. I don't think they're going to do that this time. I think they're going to win this one. It's 1-0 for top esports for me.
I'm a big believer in plot armor.
Oh my God,
And
no.
I know that's like the biggest cop-on answer, but
Nah.
this is decidedly different than what your summer split was. In the last like 5 World Championships, when is the favorite, the actual favorites of the tournament, ever actually won?
Yeah.
So T1 is actually primed to make that improvement run. We'll see if they do it. I think it will start here. I just can't bet against Faker at Worlds.
And I'm gonna bet against Faker at Worlds. I think it's gonna be top esports. Like, especially, I know the fan base, not only just like the LPL hopefuls, the Chinese fans, they're all against like top esports because they've always had these crushing defeats, no matter how good their regular seasons are. Like, Tian had an incredible season.
MVP.
He did.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, people remember you for like your worst moments, the biggest moments, the when they lost to Weibo, those type of things. And so
you're
I'm still gonna give it to TES. I'm gonna have faith. All right.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that I was the only one to predict the defending world champions,
It's crazy.
who also did better at MSI than the team they're directly playing against now.
It's been a while.
It's been like 3 months.
That's a lot in league terms. How many
Faker's
packages are
been
we
a pro
going through?
for
That's a
12
couple.
years.
Yeah, but
It's been a while.
Yeah. Also for TES, you know, this is the first game of Swiss. You know, when it comes to that storytelling around TES, it's also, I make log lines for every team, and for me, this one is when you want them to show up the most, they show up the least. But this is the first best of one. They shouldn't be that stressed, you know? They have another one tomorrow. They have a couple of best of threes, and we know the quality on TES. And I think if you juxtapose that directly with the performance of T1 this summer, that's how you get your answer, right, Jad?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to getting this game. Raz, do you have something to say?
Just a small thing. I mean, 7 worlds for Meiko, 5 worlds for JackeyLove. Even though we have the doubt, the confidence should be there, the experience, they're such a good bot lane duo. So that's a matchup I'm looking forward to seeing them versus Keria and Guma.
Yeah, we have a little bit more time, apparently. I've been informed. So if you want to talk a little bit about those bot lanes, let's do it. I think Goldberg already brought it up. The way Guma and Keria like to play and own is sadly not the way that the game's being played right now in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be some exploring period, but the fact that MF, like Ashe, Jhin, these champions are the types to, I guess, the expected picks for Worlds, it's not really what you're expecting, you know, T1 to really be performing on, but I still have a lot of faith. In fact, Guma is like a second jungler on the team with how many times he steals Barons and Dragons and his Varus pick, and they make it work, and how creative Keria is as a player. So I'm expecting something to come up, some sauce to be cooked up in the draft. So I would say never count them out, and I do think Guma is such a damn good player that he can work with any champion, any meta.
But that, like, I'm hoping that it's not just draft they have cooked. I'm hoping that either for T1, what I really want to see from them, from the break that they've had, is either you've become really good at lane swaps and you've adapted to what is currently meta, or you have then found out a style that's going to break lane swaps that other teams are currently not doing, right? I was speaking to Orcs about this, and coincidentally, Emily was also talking to it with Kelsey, but it's one of those things where I'm hoping that they found a way where they can trade plates down in that bot lane and find a way to get Guma in a position where he gets so full of gold in the early game that they can then after rotate him around the map. I'm really curious to see if they're bringing a different strategy to lane swaps that might define how we're doing this in the future, or maybe I'm just overreacting and giving them more praise than maybe they should be, but I'm really hoping that they're bringing something out that's going to make them have an easier time at Worlds.
I mean, on that note, I think we will be tracking lane swaps throughout the Swiss stage. I think in game 1 we saw BLG got swapped on, and they stacked a wave and they tried to dive with 4 people. I don't think T1's the type of team that should try to dive, and I think the adaptation that I want to see next is the team that gets swapped on shouldn't try and dive. They should just collect plates. I've seen these dives go wrong so many times because teams have gotten extremely good at getting level 2 on a support or level 3 on a top lane, and they're almost impossible to dive. But the plates are so much weaker than they were before the last set of nerfs and buffs, and the top lane plates are so much stronger. I think that's actually the play. Just collect your 320 gold advantage on your AD carry and move on. I think that's actually, I don't want to see T1 swap at all.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, if you put too many members down, then there's too much gold being shared as well. So I really wonder if it's like a two-man situation with a stack wave where they put more in from just getting 2 plates with double demolish, triple demolish maybe. I don't know.
You stack it until the cannon wave is ready to crash. You crash that huge wave in, you let the top laner clear it as fast as he can, but in that time with just 2 people, you can take at least 2 plates.
It makes me sad. I'm going to tell you. It makes me sad. It makes me so sad. You know why? Because one of the X factors of T1 at Worlds last year, you know, and generally when Keria can be the one that says, I'm going to change the meta myself. I'm actually going to make you play different and make you play different things. And I just don't see the opening currently in the meta. And you know, maybe time will tell, of course, but that is like a huge X factor for T1.
Yeah, it was an X factor during MSI when swaps were happening, and T1 was the team that was getting swapped on when they were trying to pick Vayne and Camille. And thankfully for them, throughout that tournament, it got a little better, and they were able to still play those insane picks. The problem for me when I look at top lane is I think that 369 is a phenomenal weak side top laner, and a lot of times if he's put in a swap position, he's pretty much happy about it. I think for the side of Zeus, you already talked about it, GB, the fact that he is so damn talented, and he's going to get those leads early. He's first in early, like the gold difference at 8 minutes in the LCK. Like, he will get an early lead. The problem is the solo deaths that will happen immediately afterwards, especially in a long lane. So if you're first at that, and you're second at the deaths. Like, I think we just need to see from T1 a lot more consistency in the mid game. If it's going to be a swap, no matter what, if it's going to be a longer lane, your best player kind of has to be a little bit more consistent.
It's his 100th game, his international game. Zeus, I hear.
Yeah. Damn.
Whoa, that's crazy.
No, I mean, the craziest thing about this whole T1 roster is Zeus is actually like the newest addition to that roster.
Yeah.
Oner, Faker, Guma, Keria, they were world semifinalists 2021.
Oh, wow, that is a long time.
Right, so they've had this ridiculous run together, and I know you're getting an update on a delay.
No,
is Faker restarting his PC again?
No, I was just asking another question. I'd love to know what it is, though, but sometimes we can't say it, you know? Sometimes we can't share, but I don't mind. I love that you said Faker. Maybe he does have to restart his PC. I think it is...
all the time. Like, he just go up on stage, he thinks something
Sorry, guys. I mean, we talked about, like, how's the GOAT doing, right? In the meta, how's it going? He didn't like those AD carries that much. I mean, with the shift back to mages, if he can go for an Aurora or Syndra, it's more of his comfort zone. But we haven't talked about Creme at all. He's a rookie on the world stage, or a world's rookie, we should say. We need that technicality. And it's always a hard matchup, usually versus Faker.
I think he's done a great job, talking about Creme, in terms of adapting in the AD carry meta mid lane. But he has been, his bread and butter has been the Akali. I think he has an exceptional Yone. He's like 60-something win percentage. And I think if he is so good at that, he should be happy with this meta. If you're going to be going up against an Orianna, a Syndra, something like that, just being able to now say, I'm picking like an assassin counter, I'm going to pull you into a side wave. I think that works well for Creme. So that's a great note, because I think for somebody as good as he is, that had a pretty poor performance at MSI and wants to be able to prove himself on an international level, this patch is a good way to do it. And after this split where he was so good during the regular season, is a great way to prove it to the international audience.
I mean, he has the best supporting cast ever when you look at them. They have all these champions from these different eras, of course. JackeyLove from 2018, Tian from 2019, Meiko from 2021, and then 369, of course, of 2023 MSI. So in terms of kind of what you have around you, you should be so comfortable, and that is where sometimes it is where it disappoints people the most, because that is all the quality you have on that roster. And then when it's about to hit midnight, you turn back into a pumpkin.
That's the point, right? Because it's one of those things where it's like, this sounds like the most consistent roster you can have. And it's not. That's like one of the things. I do hope that they're able to show the domestic performance that they had in the LPL, because if you only watch internationals, you're probably expecting
also, if you watch the LPL sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, true, but they have so many games, right? But I think for most of the part, their games this season has been defined as very, very good. I am more worried about Tian now going into a matchup now where there's maybe less of these AP junglers, but we're going to have more of these Jarvans and Bruces like Vi going into it, because he has had a habit in the past of maybe oversending it a little bit. Historically, his Viego has been good if you want to play through that, but I think this first game has to be such a statement game from both teams. For T1, because they have to cement themselves like they're not just what they saw domestically. And for top esports is, we are exactly what you saw domestically and we can be better. So this first game is such a statement game for both of these teams.
And to the point, an expectation I had when top esports brought in Meiko was the fact that he was going to be the babysitter wrangling people in. And sure, it hasn't happened so much, but I expect that to be the case. I just remember comms from EDG and all that where he's like, stop, no, pull back. That's a one fight already. So I'm expecting a little bit more of that.
Yeah, since we still have a little bit of time, I think we've kind of exhausted all the what-ifs, right, before we actually see this game playing out. So I want to zoom out a little bit if we can, because this game is really emblematic of what Worlds is all about. It is LPL wanting their revenge over T1, first and foremost, but also the entirety of the LCK and how we feel like the balance of power is going to develop over the Swiss stage and beyond.
I think, to me, it is the most interesting, overarching storyline of the last, I mean, like 5 or 6 years of League of Legends, like literally since the last time we've been in Europe, when G2 played against FPX in finals in 2019. Since that moment, it's only been LCK and LPL teams in the finals. And I think in the last 2 years, if it wasn't for T1, the LPL would be dominating.
They would have dominated.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be close. Like we would have had last year 2
I mean, we had DRX
LPL teams. Well, we had just last 2 years. We've had 2 LPL teams in MSI finals, right? And then all 4 LPL teams made it out of group stage. 3/4 of them made it into the semifinals. Yet T1, as you mentioned, aced them at Worlds.
T1 is Hodor.
And then Gen G obviously this year is a big favorite, along with BOG, is actually looking higher than T1, and they'd be like the big defenders. So honestly, for the last 3 years, it absolutely has been the LCK. Because we have DRX winning, we have T1 winning, and we also have Gen G winning this MSI. But like, it's crazy to think how close it was with what T1 pulled off last year at Worlds to really flip the narrative.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, as you say, though, even with all that in mind, it never goes the way you think it's going to go based on pre-tournament expectations. Very, very rarely. We just have to bring up DRX or T1 to prove that point exactly. And that is what always excites me at Worlds. And that is also what excites me if LPL is going to make this rush for the World Championship again. Maybe it isn't BLG. Maybe it is TES. You don't know.
Weibo.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Whoa,
G2.
why are you laughing like that? That was very rude towards Weibo.
No, literally every year there's a team that usurps those expectations, right?
Yeah.
Every time we think there's no shot that, like, for instance, Gen G is not going to make it to the finals, and then they get taken down by BLG. Like,
You believe?
This time I believe. I believe in Gen G. Huh?
Why?
Because they're the MSI champions. They already took over.
Okay, but counterpoint to this, right? When JDG came into that World Championship, you thought as well that this was just going to be their golden road. No team looked as strong as JDG at that time. So I know it's like one of those things where we're looking at BLG, we're looking at Gen G, but you can't forget that it's been exactly like this in the past as well, MSI title or not.
But they're not on a golden road.
Exactly.
No stress.
That's fair enough. You don't have those expectations on you.
Even with the confidence that I have about Gen G, I'm like, Humble Life already took them out.
Yeah.
And guess who already took down T1 when they went up against them in 2022? It was Zeka. So, like, there's always going to be, like, a question of, like, who does the best on the meta and which team just gels the most and actually is able to go throughout the first stage of Worlds and learns the most. So that's why I'm like, I look at Humble Life as, like, they could do it.
Is that your dark horse then?
Yeah, they're my dark horse, for sure.
I think that's a pretty fair one as well.
Yeah, and also I'm a Peanut fan, so I think Peanut just had to
Is
have
there
it.
even a dark horse?
Is T1 too bright to be a dark
Because
horse?
people doubt Doran and Peanut on an international
be,
stage.
yeah.
I know, but you say you don't doubt TES, so why are you doubting Peanut on the international stage?
That's why I'm like,
Isn't this his tournament?
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I get it, though. It's happened a few times, and they talk about that as well. And that's what it is all about. We still have a little bit of a delay. In fact, I really don't know what's going on. So since we've done our due diligence, we've talked about the tournament favorites. Fine. Now we can go a bit lower. Let's talk about NA versus EU. Let's talk about Team Liquid.
Team Liquid?
Yeah.
Okay. Raz, we're going to have different opinions.
Oh my God. No, okay, go for it. Do it.
Here's the weird thing with me about Team Liquid.
Okay.
As some people are tuning in right now, and they're like,
They're
oh
like,
my
why
God,
are they talking
why
about
is he
Liquid
yapping about
again?
NA
I'm ready
already?
for this.
Anyway, they are a team that can definitely make it to quarters, I think.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have that potential, but I want to set reasonable expectations
Glad
about
we're in
them.
agreement.
because we talked about it at the top of the show, like what could change at Worlds that might change how you feel about this team coming in. And I feel like they had such a perfect read on what they were able to accomplish in summer, really being one of the best lane swap teams in the world.
Yep.
And then I feel like APA had really mastered the AD carry pool with the way that he's able to collect gold on side lanes. But I feel like if we switch to this Ahri, Syndra, LeBlanc type mage mid, I don't think he's going to be as good on those champions as he was on the AD carry champions in mid. And I think even if lane swapping still happens, I think its effectiveness is diminished based on the nerfs that they've actually given. So they're going to be like, if they were here, they're there. But they're still pretty good.
Okay, you know what? That's a small difference. And
that was like an inch.
Exactly, it's not that bad. And so, like, overall, I do think the questions around APA's champion pool, even though at the very top of the show, I put that question out there. Like, he started his career off of what? Ziggs, Aurelion Sol. He even played Syndra, of course, at the last Worlds. Like, he has mages in his pool. And I think something that Team Liquid does really well is being able to play through side lanes. And even if he's on those more diminished picks, for him, he's going to be able to support them. So I think from the TL side, I'm happy. FlyQuest side, I'm confident.
Wait, yeah, but why the TL?
European side, not so confident. Say that again.
Oh, that series was actually
We don't need your trust.
I mean, that series was super close. I think FlyQuest won that series because Inspired is super good.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, Inspired has been controlling the game, and he was able to switch to the different meta, like mid-playoffs, being able to switch between a supportive style with Ivern or a hard carry style with any of the power farmers. He was incredible in that tournament.
I love watching Inspired play, and I love watching Inspired talk and do interviews, and then someone else has to come in and be like the nice guy, like he's got like good cop, bad cop.
Here's the last thing I'll say about Team Liquid or FlyQuest chances, or even TES or T1's chances. A lot of it's going to depend on the draw. Because we know what happened to KT last year, sorry, DRX, D+ last year.
Yes, D+,
with getting nothing but hard opponents throughout all of Swiss stage. So if you lose this first game, sure, maybe you're going to be able to play some lower tier loser from the first round, or maybe
Excuse me?
I wasn't naming names, but a lot of it's going to depend on the draw. So these games are actually very important.
I've got an update. Unfortunately, we are going to have to take a 5-minute break, but we will be back after that with the game.
We promise.
No, we don't.
And welcome back to Worlds 2024. We are moments away from our second game. It has been a bit of time before our last one, so thank you to everyone who's stuck with us through a bit of delays here today as Vetties and myself get ready for another absolute banger. Love Swiss stage, man. It's just day one. It's like every matchup is good. Not always for the same reasons, I'll be honest, but this one,
Last year at Worlds, it was BLG, then it was LNG, and then it was JDG, and then it was Weibo. T1 have an opportunity to add another name to the list here today as they go up against Top Esports, but perhaps Top Esports can be the first of many to get their revenge, because the question coming into this game is a question of form, right?
Sure, yeah.
There's doubt on the side of Top Esports, and there's hope and enthusiasm on the side of T1, but their performances domestically were the opposite, because Top Esports had an incredible regular season with the MVP of Tian, where T1 barely limped their way into the World Championship. So I'm very excited to see what these teams are prepared for us today. I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got for us in the draft. What's going to be the priority? What are we going to see in mid lane? Will we see the king return to his throne in the mid lane? Because he has been struggling.
all I know is I watched that man play piano with a big old championship ring on. So I feel, and this is the problem, right? This is the T1 aura, is that you're just like, yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You're like, but all the evidence, and you're like, I don't need that
I saw him open a large door, and that already was enough.
I saw him walk out as an emperor, throw a cape off, spin a spear around, and that might have been animated Faker, which means real Faker could probably do like 10x, whatever that was. I mean, it is valid, right? I think there is always going to be this benefit of the doubt that T1 are going to get.
Naturally, of course.
And there's always, I don't want to say always going to be skepticism for top esports because I don't think that is fair to them. But based on, international performance, based on even the series that they lost to G2 at MSI, there is still that healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to what really is this team's consistent level, because we've seen high highs and we've seen low lows.
Yeah, and the reality is that if you want to use history as an example, T1 as an organization often starts slow at World Championships.
True.
Their very first games, even their first few, are not always their best performances, just because it seems like that they don't always adapt to the meta immediately. And I love the point that Shox made on the desk, because last year it felt like that, you know, they had a very close series versus Team Liquid. They almost lost that, right? And then they continued on and you thought, okay, they're getting better, but then they defined the meta. They were the ones that introduced and changed the bot lane meta, and were the ones that said, hey everyone, this is what we think the best way to play the game is. And then everyone was playing catch up to T1, which no one ultimately was able to do.
Yeah, it was interesting because I believe it was Weibo first who brought out the Lux Caitlyn, and people were like, this is flavor. This isn't going to be real. But then it was T1 who brought it full circle to the point where we were back to a Keria who, even in spring, right, had been playing everything. And people were like, there's no way that meta comes back. But it did, and they found that angle. And that's the story of so many teams. We look back, how many teams has the meta suited them, or have they found that single angle? Even as far back as 2018, helps to have the two best solo laners in the world when you have a tournament that's all about your freaking solo laners, right? IG, they run so much about that, and we'll have to see if the meta does favor T1, and if they can be faster in identifying what their unique take on it is, or what the best version of it is. Because you're right, not every tournament for T1, people just remember the ending. They don't always remember some of the more awkward moments at the start. And we'll see if this is one of those moments as our teams take to the stage. Again, so much history, so many titles. The sheer amount of ELO in this walkout is baffling.
8 World Championships in a single game. The fist bumps come through. Chaos as they find their way to their seats. But it doesn't matter. We're getting ready for the draft. We're getting ready for the game. Much anticipated matchup, and the question on everybody's minds are, what form are these teams in to debut the World Championship? Let's get ready. What will the priority be? Game 1, we saw the Vi instantly locked in for BLG. We know that both these junglers are more than happy to pick that one up. But will it be the Skarner? Will that instead be the priority?
I'm betting the Vi is banned, because we saw at MSI, Vi was also an incredibly popular pick, essentially perma-banned. Just about everywhere. People were not going to let through at the time. The Vi Talias of the world, now it's feeling more like it's going to be kind of the Vi Ahri setup. It's just so reliable. And when you look at these two mid laners, I will say that neither of them feel like the centerpiece right now of their respective teams. This could be a game where we're focusing much more around the bottom side, or maybe my personal hope around the top side of the map, Zeus versus 369. But again, if we end up in a situation where, based on the first game, it's a lot of, you know, Gnar versus Cassante, can't imagine there'll be too much jungle involvement there.
Yeah, I don't expect it, but let's find out. Ziggs, Syndra, Ashe, Aurora, Skarner, Vi, these are all champions that immediately come to our minds when we think about high priorities in the draft. There's likely going to be some potential target bans. We saw in Game 1 the Nidalee taken away from Alyoya, the Jinx taken away from Super. But of course, neither of these teams will have much data on each other outside of what they saw in terms of the actual qualification to the World Championship. But without further ado, let's finally jump to this matchup, jump into the draft, and see what will be taken off the board.
Taking the time. Here we go. Thank you, Omen and HyperX. Champ select here. Orianna taken away. Some of the more stable picks off the board. Yone did not show up in our first game despite how popular it has been in Champions Queue and Solo Queue, but Tristana, Yone, conventional AD options off the board.
Okay, fine. And Skarner, both available right now. I like the respect being shown towards the mid laners. Orianna for Faker makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He recently acquired a skin on the champion. Meanwhile, on the side of T1, the Ziggs removed the Tristana as well towards Creme. He's an incredible Tristana player, and they don't allow him to have that. But the Aurora, first pick, we talked about it being a power pick. The beauty of this champion is the flexibility that it has as well, being played both in mid and top.
And of course, just one of the most powerful team fighting ultimates in the game. What feels like a Camille ultimate for an entire team can be so impactful. Remember, this champion has been nerfed just about every patch since it came out, and the fact that it's still high prio is a testament to how powerful the kit really is. But prioritizing the early Aurora has left open the Ashe. Again, something that was banned away in our first match of the day. Generally a champion who gets lane prio against the vast majority of matchups. And with Aurora locked in, Neeko now coming out. Remember, Aurora, as you highlighted, a flex. Top lane Neeko, not something we see as much, but is something that has been played historically.
Yeah, naturally, my assumption would be that this is for Keria in support. But the beauty of the champion is it is flexible. We know Faker's played it before. Zeus is no stranger to bring out in the top lane as well. So a bit of flexibility on the side of T1, perhaps an introduction to the meta, maybe an answer to Aurora that they've prepared for us. We'll have to wait and see as the draft continues. The Jhin going to be locked in for the side of top esports over towards JackeyLove. And now they round out with a sport of their own. But they want to grab that jungler because, you know, in the previous game, Skarner and Vi instantly locked in from both BLG and MBK. But so far in this game, that jungle priority has fallen to the wayside.
Debates here on what the option is going to be.
The flexibility immediately, lock in the Renekton for 369. Of course, one of his most well-known champions throughout his career, but I feel like the biggest strength that you have in Aurora is its flexibility. But top esports, and I mean, it's common in the LPL, they know the power of Renekton. They are very effective at leveraging it, so they want to guarantee that for themselves.
And pressure now on T1 to lock in whatever it is they want to play with mid lane if it's not the Neeko. Because if they don't, they'll likely be banned away in the next phase. However, instead, the focus is going to be on counterpicking the top side of the map. Zeus with the Jacks into 369 Renekton. Classic top lane matchup, but unlike a lot of the matchups we see, this is one where the Jacks eventually is going to be a tough task to deal with. Early on, we know how impactful the Renekton could be, how strong he is overall, but the later we go, the scarier and scarier that Jax becomes, especially on a side lane.
I wonder if T1 will get rid of something like a Jarvan. You look at the Ashe as a potential target, and it wouldn't surprise me if T1's even thinking about something like the Syndra. I think control mages in general do very well into Aurora because she's relatively short range and you can really bully her. The Poppy, though, going to be the van, given that, you know, Jax does struggle against this matchup for sure. And maybe T1's thinking about the Jarvan themselves, which means that that's something that they could prioritize. I would expect something like an early, I would expect a jungle ban here. But perhaps they want to just eliminate potential support options that can pair up nicely. Something like the Rell would also make a lot of sense if they just want to eliminate that from Meiko. Maybe even his Alistar is something they could be concerned about.
I'm curious where or what TES's plan is with the rest of their options, because Jhin normally pairs incredibly well with champions who want to burst out a target, and while Aurora can hit that identity when she starts to get ahead, often needs a bit more time to get stacks built up. If it's not, you know, a snowballed Aurora ultimate, it's not doing quite as much, so I wonder if the Renekton and Aurora will be enough, or if they'll try to get more damage out of the jungle position. You highlighted Skarner earlier, Sejuani already gone. Still some good tank jungle options left, but the Renata was already banned. Bot lane support pool, really the big focus. Rell would be kind of next down in priority order in terms of popular options, but giving respect over to Comfort for Oner, obviously an incredible Viego player.
Now you imagine that the mid lane is going to be locked in. You know that Aurora is going into mid. Aha! But this is the flexibility of the Neeko that we were talking about. So this is their answer into the Aurora. They've locked the Neeko in. They're going to be securing it in mid lane with the Rakan coming down towards the bot side of the map. What will the response be here from top esports? Both the Rell and Leona, I think, both make sense, both in terms of the 2v2 matchup, but also providing a form of engage. Right now, that is what top esports is lacking. They need a way to start those fights, and Rell makes a lot of sense. To round things out, you're then looking at that jungler, which, you know, in this meta, really surprises me that it's come so late into the draft. But what's it going to be, Tian? What are you thinking about bringing out?
It's a situation where you have AD top, you have AP mid. So in terms of overall composition, you can go either way. You wouldn't mind a little bit more magic damage on this team. Do we see a return to old junglers of patches past? But the tank option, always going to be a solid one. Skarner, of course, just generally a good pick. Doesn't always have the best upfront engage, doesn't have the same range that a champ like Sejuani does, but it will be the priority here. It is what's going to be locked in, and we saw in the previous game, a lot of those early skirmishes going in the favor of MDK. While they maybe could keep up in map play, the Skarner did a lot of work, especially around those level 6 fights.
Oner's Wukong. I am a fan, especially against champions that don't have the best mobility, Jhin and Aurora. It also just pairs up nicely. Nice dive buddy alongside both the Jax and the Rakan. You've got a lot of engage on the side of T1. Yeah, that is a backline threat composition. Faker, man. This man on control mages is a sight to see. Because at any point, you know that he can make that play that can change a game. He's done it so many times over so many years. It's what so many people look forward to.
I'm also just excited because I love Neeko on big international stages. Domestically, we joked about it in the LAC, I think everybody has, but your ability to count minions will be tested today. Is
Yes,
that actually a blast cone? Will be a legitimate question we ask in the context of this game, and I'm just ready to see kind of the creativity that can come with a newer champion like Aurora to the professional scene, and something like Neeko, who obviously has that naturally built in. But you highlighted so much engage, and it feels like T1, very clear game plan. TES know it, T1 know it. How do TES fight back against this? Can they get those side laners ahead? Maybe find an avenue where they don't have to run face first into this powerhouse 5v5 wombo combo style composition coming out from T1.
I do think I prefer the comp from T1. I think they have side lane options. I think they've got good team fighting. The pick potential is there. But the biggest thing is the range. Like, don't get me wrong, Jhin can have some decent range later on to the game. He's got a decent amount of poke, but against an Ashe, against a Neeko, face checking, sieging a tower, this is a scary comp to do that against. So Top Esports do have some strength in the early games, specifically around the top side of the map. We'll see if they can look to leverage that as we jump onto the Rift for our second Swiss matchup of the day. Top Esports versus T1.
Crucially, the first LPL versus LCK matchup we've seen at Worlds 24 thus far. And it is just a best of one, but come on, the narrative writes itself, Eddie. You talked about it. Could T1 add a 5th LPL team to the list?
I mean, there's a lot of pride on the line for LPL. Yeah. T1 really did the LPL dirty last year with the run through the world's bracket. But again, like, if you're just an international viewer, if you only tune in for the international events, you look at the top of your screen, what do you mean LCK 4th seed?
No, we mean LCK 4.
Yes, T1 really struggled this split. They've had a really difficult road to get here, and they just barely made it. 5 games in the regional gauntlet versus KT. Their form has not looked spectacular, but it's important to emphasize this, because if they do turn things around at the World Championship, it should really go to show how incredible this team, this roster of 5 players really is.
T1 already making some proactive map movement with Guma on the top side at 130. Looks like we will be seeing a lane swap vision to try to spot out who will be coming to potentially catch that wave as the LCK classic of having your support in the mid lane, but this time, not a support, it's Faker, and now the flash in onto 369. 369 getting lower and lower, a little bit of healing from Cole. The Meek and first blood for Zeus.
A strong start as they find 369 isolated. The split map came through. Now they will be a little slow to start the push on the top side of the map, but hey, they got themselves first blood and they got it onto Zeus.
And right now in the mid lane, right, you still have the 2v2 lane set up, which is of course really the LCK special. T1 no strangers to it. Something Gen G were really proactive at kind of bringing to the forefront. Makes sense when you're mid laner Chovy to give him a little bit more attention, but the same, very true about Faker, as he remains a secret Neeko. I think just happy to have a kind of better auto attack animation for as long as humanly possible.
Now, 369 is desperate to try and get level 2 as Zeus and Gumayusi hover around the top side of the map. The idea is, and you're going to be seeing a lot at this year's World Championship, is Zeus will get level 2, Rakan has level 2 as well. So once Zeus gets the level over, he can TP to catch that massive wave in bot. And now that they're both level 2, both support and top laner, they should be safe enough to weather the threat of the dive. Here's Tian though, hovering and ready. We should be seeing this TP come through from Zeus, but he wants to go back to base. He wants to spend before he actually arrives in the lane.
Level 2 for Keria. This is really difficult for TES to get much done here, however, because, again, Jhin early on in those extended trades and laning phases can be powerful early on. Nice flashback from Keria to get away. Knock up, forcing the flash up from Tian in response. No dive, no real play here. Only a single plate taken down as 369 will TP up to the top side. Now, Guma, of course, because of the 85% early fortification, not really able to get a plate back in response, but well defended by Keria.
I'm a little surprised to see that Zeus actually stayed for another wave in the top lane, because I thought initially he was going to go back to base, spend his money, then TP down towards bot, but ultimately, not the end of the world. The flash did have to come out from Tian because he got tower aggro by hitting onto Keria. Now, level 3 through from Keria. The base actually going to come through from Zeus. We imagine the same thing is going to happen from Gumayusi in the near future. But I say that, look at the top lane right now. He is just bullying out 369 in the Renekton. No flash means that he can just chip away at his HP bar. Level 3 now comes through.
Just being zoned away from so much XP. Luckily, as you highlighted, does have the level 3 now. Things will get a little bit easier if he can get on top of Guma. You know, he'd be in a better position, but with Guma still having cleanse and both of them being flashless, the kill pressure that 369 brings to the table is much, much lower. And in the bottom lane, they're just now able to crash that wave. JackeyLove luckily hasn't had to burn a biscuit yet, but he's running out of mana just trying to sustain that push.
Oner continues to split mash. Split mash? Split mash in order to provide Gumayusi with all this additional safety as well. This AD carry is level 4 now, happily farming away as can be.
look, if we just kind of squint, it's like season 1, sort of. You've just got double melee champs to the bot side.
That is old school, yeah.
There's Ashe in solo lanes for some reason. It's coming full circle. Stun there from Zeus, just trying to get close to get XP. Again, if he doesn't pick up CS here, it's not the biggest deal, as long as he stays ahead in XP overall. Obviously, Jax wants that early itemization, but in a split map, you're happy to just get what you can, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how, I believe it's T1 that's made this decision, right? Because typically you'd swap back earlier, right? You're just getting through those early levels, you're trying to put the enemy top laner behind a little bit, but T1 is saying, hey, we're actually quite comfortable with how we're playing right now, with Gumayusi getting nice pressure down onto 369, and the fact that they can't do the same to Zeus on the other side of the map. He walks away, back to base. They're going to keep these lane assignments. They're going to send Gumayusi back to top once more. Keria's roam to mid.
And essentially, I think what this tells us is that grubs are the priority for T1. They're resetting to be in time for the 5:30 wave that'll spawn. If you get pressure there, you get first access to grubs, willing to, you know, mismatch lanes a little bit longer to try to prioritize that early grub buff. We'll see if it kind of pays off for him.
Sure. Of course, Oner has maintained this split map throughout the entirety of the early game. Ultimately, all of the shenanigans haven't really resulted in a significant gold advantage outside of the fact that Zeus did get first blood. That's kind of where a lot of the lead is sitting right now. Gumayusi is a little bit behind in terms of farm, partially because he was late to the first wave. But level 5 now for the Ashe. And yep, 369 is upset that this is his lane opponent.
And look, he can't, there's nothing he can do about this. He can't come face check these grubs. So grubs are getting picked up. The response, of course, on the opposite side for TES is to go for this Drake, which makes a lot of sense, but ultimately grubs have been higher priority for the LCK just about the entire year. So not surprising to see T1 look for the top side on this side of the trade.
And now, after securing the grubs, they have numbers advantage top side, so they can start threatening those plays, start threatening a potential dive. No level 6 secured yet for 369 means that he's not going to have his ultimate available. You can see Oner making his way into the top side jungle once more as top esports secure the first dragon of the game. Zeus spotted on a ward.
Creme, now needs to be careful. Nice hop out to safety. Pretty easy for him to escape, but running relatively low on mana. Meiko, we'll see if he wants to help him push this wave in, but all of T1 collapsing on the top side now.
Basically, Zeus saying, I know I'm at risk of a dive on the bot side of the map, so I'm not even going to bother sticking around. Instead, I'm going to group up with my team, threaten a potential dive, but also he's in a position to catch this wave. They hand 2 plates over to Gumayusi. He can now look to reset and path back towards bot if he wants to. And the XP just going to be shared between the two of them. Overall, I think T1 has managed this very patiently, very well in terms of the early game. 369 in a similar position, knows that he can't go to the top side of the map, so he's getting what experience he can. They are chipping away at this tower, leveraging the strength of the grubs. The total number of plates exchanged so far is even, but here becomes the 4th.
And I think the big thing here is that Jhin is not great. Normally in these lane swap circumstances, when JackeyLove gets so much time in isolation, you'd expect him to get more, but because he's on Jhin, he doesn't really shred through those plates, and because we're past 5 minutes, the top lane fortification that might have balanced things out for the first few minutes, no longer in his favor. So first tower taken, great use of the grub buff. TES committing a lot of members here to the mid lane, but overall, T1, 2,000 gold ahead.
They didn't even get this another plate in the bot lane, by the way. Jhin just couldn't.
Jhin!
Yeah.
It's Jhin realm. They don't do anything, man, to the tower. They don't have backup either.
So
You're not going to beat Jack's Ashe on a tower taking contest.
You are not. Now Gumayusi returns to the bot lane. Again, he is a little bit behind in CS, he's a little bit behind in XP, but the gold, because he secured that first tower, that's really where you're starting to see that discrepancy build up. 369 not able to leverage the strength of Renekton whatsoever. And while over in the LPL, it's been consistently a high priority pick because of its strength in lane and its versatility in the mid game, T1 are making the champion redundant given these early lane swap shenanigans.
And the Aurora, the first pick priority here for the side of TS, really hasn't done much. Creme fine in the individual 1v1 trades, but very little of this lane has been a 1v1.
Okay, Zeus, he's just running around taking plates. He's like, I got my passive up, I'm gonna hit the tower, get a plate, and then I'm off.
They're going to kick this man out of the buffet. He's been eating plates for 3 hours, so that's clearly against the rules.
Okay, we know it's all you can eat.
It's all you can eat is more of, it's a theoretical thing.
But no one actually eats all that they can eat, okay? So it's like, but there's a plate, man. I gotta eat it.
He's only got 5 more minutes.
Look at this wave, man. It's perfect timing. in game one, we talked about how BLG weren't wasting any time with their map movements.
Sure.
And I think you need to give the same credit to Zeus in this situation where he's just really trying to maximize what he can.
Knock up in, arrow to follow, cleanse out, but it's a little bit late. Immediate coming in from JackeyLove, taken down. Gumayusi now trying to run the charm to interrupt anything else coming in from Tian. Guma likely to fall here. Ulti is there. Probably just a 2 for 2 in the end, but more members used by the side of TES to make that play happen. Keria trying to escape. Oner now stepping forward in the end. Still able to find a pretty even trade.
A trade of life between the AD carries, but Gumayusi and Keria ultimately getting a 2v2 kill, which is huge for them. They get the cleanse out from JackeyLove. He isn't forced to expend the flash, and if it weren't for the presence of Tian, that play could have gone much worse. But overall, as you rightly said, 1 for 1 on the bot side of the map. Nicely though, Oner pulls the wave up into the river, which means that they now have a slow push heading towards that bot side of the map. We turn our attention back towards it again. Nice side set from Gumayusi. The knock-up comes through. He cleanses the CC, but he's still in the airborne. Nice flash out from Guma means that he's still able to get the kill. But at this point, he's just ran out of tools. He doesn't have flash, he doesn't have cleanse. And Tian is able to lock him down and secure the trade back kill.
And if you fall behind in a trade against the Rakan Ashe lane, they do just have so much CC. Even if he hadn't cleansed in mid-air, there's no real immediate pressure for Keria to charm to find that lockup. So well played by T1. And now it gets a lot harder for TES to get involved in the bottom side of the map. We did see right as we went into the replay, reassignment of JackeyLove into mid lane. And now T1 quick to try to punish the side lane focus. Creme, instant ult.
Nice use of the ultimate. We've been seeing that more and more around the world. But Creme doesn't panic. Uses the ultimate, not forced to expend the flash. Of course, T1 priority on the place. They're threatening the dive. A lot of TPs.
They are ready to dive this. 369, Renekton, how strong is it? So much CC. He lives for a little bit of time, but the wave is basically deleted. T1 happy to have the donated kill. I don't think 369 was ready for everyone on T1 to be there.
But look at the map state. Typically when you're investing this much into a play, you're worried about the cross map, but they don't have the wave pushed in top. T1 had already secured that. It's Jhin in the mid lane again. He really can't trade much. And it's the plate merchant, Zeus. He's on the bot lane. He's there to get more plates for himself.
Just keeps eating. He's 1.1k gold ahead. And I did not think the major story of two international titans, TES and T1, would be about Jhin trying to take towers and not being very good at it, but a reminder as to why Jhin, I think in these lane swap scenarios, or in scenarios where you're playing a much more active map where you're constantly reassigning, can feel really lackluster. He just doesn't do enough.
I mean, we're not even close to 14 minutes. Top tower, gone. Bot tower, gone. Of course, the good news for Top Esports is they deny the 6 scrubs and they set themselves up with 2 dragons. However, in terms of the gold, T1 have set themselves up beautifully for a very powerful mid-game. These first items are already coming through. The Trinity Force very nearly completed for Zeus. There's a pushed-in bot wave. He's going to be able to catch that as well. Top Esports are just being run around the map, and we talked about the composition and how I kind of favored T1's comp just because of their backline access and the number of threats that they have. This situation doesn't make things any easier for Top Esports.
I think the good news for Top Esports is JackeyLove's finally completed that static. His wave clear is going to be a bit better. They should be able to play a little bit more around Prio, at least some of these lanes, but need to see what Creme can do as well. Finished Malignants. Can he find angles with the ultimate to get picks on side lane? Because we know T1 just have so many tools. If you misstep, it's so easy for them to find these picks, to find these angles. It takes a little bit more work from TES to find those picks or find those setups on fights.
Bit of a dance between the supports as they battle over the control wards. Now, the
Faker
minion
coming in. Instant Wukong ultimate. Faker now going to fall between worlds, but there's just nowhere to go. Meiko trying to find the counter engage, but it might not matter. Still in the midst of everything. Tian is so damn tanky. They weren't ready for that, and Jhin might not kill towers, but he kills people pretty damn good. Quadra coming in, baby. Put it in the cannon. JackeyLove is Jhin.
JackeyLove popped off! A quadra kill for the Jhin means that just like that, Top Esports have turned this game around. T1 were riding with so much momentum and confidence. They set their sights on the blue buff. The wombo combo looked good, but the threat to JackeyLove just wasn't there. From a distance, he was able to pick apart those T1 members and immediately bring them back into the game. That 3k gold lead has shrunk to a 1k one. And let's look back at this as Faker turns into a minion. He sets up with his team. Keria looks for the engage. The knockup initially comes through. They burst out Creme, but look at the positioning of JackeyLove. The wombo combo looks good, but JackeyLove, the bouncing grenade doing work, the static shiv as well. And Tian on the front line able to soak up so much damage with the ultimate to clean things up. That's 4. He finds 4.
And incredible stuff there, because we talked about how hard it can be sometimes for TES to find fights, but when they absorb that initial blow and Tian and Meiko are still standing, all of that Rell CC is put to such fantastic use. You highlighted JackeyLove really just got to hang out. Now the only person in our MasterCard lane economy snapshot with an individual lead. They're not out of the tough times
so
yet.
There's good news and bad news. The good news, JackeyLove now very strong, in a position to be the carry for top esports. Bad news, every member of Tier 1 have now picked a target, and he will now be the one that they are all gunning for in the upcoming team fight.
And it's tricky. We've talked about this. Yes, he has Flash and Cleanse. That'll make things a little bit easier, but there is so much non-committal CC from the side of T1. It's easy for them to just look for those angles. As the fight for Rift Herald, a lot of posturing. TES with a little bit better vision control might be in a position where T1 has to conceive. You see both top laners resetting. 369 sprinting to the area, has Black Cleaver now completed. TP. Zeus finishing his Triforce at the same time. Both top laners ready to get involved. Their TP's there. Bit of a handshake here on the fist fight around this objective. Meiko trying to find that angle, trying to find that engage. Guma with the red buff. Poking, chipping away, the eye procced. Creme now walking in. Between Worlds is there. Gonna be difficult for Guma to stay too long. Not having vision in that brush, a bit devastating as Meiko just constantly threatening. Probably just the 50-50 on the smite. 2K on the Herald. Faker is now a blue buff, but the Herald's gone down. Tian wants to walk in and pick this one up. Should be able to do so. T1, are they willing to commit more resources to deny? Just a bit of poking and prodding, but ultimately 50-50 goes to TES, so not a lot to say.
I think the positioning from top esports was really good because Creme is in a position to constantly make it difficult for Oner to find that engage that he was looking for. Trying to come from the fog of war to catch top esports off guard. Meanwhile, 369 and Zeus were just kind of battling in the mid lane, trying to fight for access, who could get that better position ready for the upcoming team fight. But no one from T1 was really ready to pull the trigger. They don't really want to start the initiation onto Tian. They either want to find Creme or JackeyLove, but they weren't presenting any openings. So with the Herald being within range of Tian and him being this tanky Skarner, he was just slowly wearing it down and able to secure that objective uncontested. The gold still in favor of T1, but top esports, even after all the tower shenanigans and everything that's happened in the early game, have been prioritizing these objectives very well, only losing those first 3 grubs.
Definitely. And third Drake, 20 seconds away. Fighting now for push on the bottom side. Thus far, Zeus has been able to get this, but you can see 369 happy to step up, knowing the team will be there to back him up if he needs to fight with Zeus. Taking a look at the vision control right now, TES much better control. The brush that Meiko just walked through. Crucial for T1 to have that vision so they don't get picked off. Meiko's so good at hiding in that fog of war and setting up these traps. As instead, TES, knowing they have the Herald, going to try and force T1 on the back foot. They don't have a wave mid, but it looks like they don't even care about it. Creme moving in, was invisible. Between Worlds not going to come out. No one there to follow, so a bit of an awkward Herald usage.
Gives them access into the river, at least a little bit, as Keria still maintaining vision control. I think it's because Zeus able to have that push in the bot wave. Base going to come in through 369, should allow Zeus to catch this wave. But the pressure remains mid for top esports. They know where they have control. But we talked about the range. It's difficult to approach this composition from T1 underneath the tower. But now as 4, they make their way into the river. You've got to keep your eyes on the flank from Zeus. He is pinged out by the side of top esports. Slowly clearing out this vision.
T1, good use. Excuse me, TES, good use of their prio to keep that vision control in their favor. But such an awkward back and forth dance. You highlighted it so well, right? Zeus playing through bottom side, getting him access to that objective, having that angle of attack, whereas TES committed to playing through mid. If T1 don't commit enough members, they'll instantly lose that tower and it gets much harder. But if TES overcommit, it's so easy for Zeus to find that flank. Faker looking to kick things off, double knock up, instantly Zeus in the midst of everything, and down goes JackeyLove, the one-fed member, gone in the blink of an eye. Tian does not have enough left in the tank to finish that one. Double kill for Zeus. T1, incredible fight.
Faker truly is timeless. An incredible engage from him once more on the world stage to set up the fight for T1. Top esports were caught unawares. JackeyLove didn't even get an opportunity to flash away. And with him taken out, all of the gold leaders gone. And just keep your eyes on Faker, mimicking the Wukong. Finds the angle, pops the ultimate, their target immediately JackeyLove, and look at the follow-up there. All 4 members lock down the AD carry and don't give him the opportunity to play the game.
And perfect follow-up from Zeus and Oner. And credit to Faker, right? He throws himself forward like he's the fake clone, like he's the one just going for a bit of vision. But this one time, every other time, the 90 other times he sent a clone in, it was not the actual Neeko.
He's literally like the Wukong. There's 4 Wukongs. He can make 4. Like, that's crazy. Oner can press the W.
Lines up with the cannon pretty well. That's all I'm going to say.
Like, oh my goodness. Crazy stuff. And T1 back in the driver's seat.
And we look at our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, right? It's all about top lane. And while 369 hasn't been the crux of TES, you can see all of the money is going to Zeus. Yes, Faker gets the setup, but it's Zeus flashing in, getting that counter-strike, finishing that kill, and now 1.7k gold lead, almost 2 items, 20 minutes into the game. This Jax is a massive threat on the sideline. 369 really can't afford to walk up.
I mean, 369 from the very start of this game has been a target for T1. They were able to find First Blood. He was denied a lot of experience and farm in the early laning phase, and he hasn't been able to find these angles of attack in any of the fights. The matchup's only going to get harder as now Sundered Sky finished for Zeus alongside the Trinity Force.
Where do you think the quadra kill was on our win probability? It's that little sliver of blue.
Tower should finally go down? Nope. But again, it just comes back to that point of, look at how difficult this composition is to siege against, right? The threat of the Ashe arrow, Faker could at any moment pop the ultimate. The threat of the Wukong flank.
Meiko, though, starting, knowing the tower isn't really much to defend there. Now between worlds coming out, JackeyLove for now untouched on the backside can look to start to finish up these kills, but Zeus in the midst of everything just gave up his counter-strike. Now needs to retreat. Massive healing coming in from 369, but not nearly enough. Curtain call coming out, though, and looking to finish the job. So much damage. And again, JackeyLove clutching the fight.
As long as JackeyLove has position, there's always an opportunity for top esports to turn the fights around. He still didn't burn his flash in that engage, but it was top esports to put the pressure onto T1. They were the initiators, and they put T1 on the back foot, allowing JackeyLove to find good position and turn the fight around. 9-9 in kills. Top esports are going to get 2 towers.
But I think the hero of the day is Meiko there. So many of these engages have been all about that Rell. He and Tian both with 100% kill participation in this game. Yes, JackeyLove is the one who's walking away with the money, the score line, the accolades, no doubt in my mind, but the supporting cast here has been so good for TES.
I mean, you're completely right, and think about it, every exchange that happens between the two teams, Creme is quick to throw out the ultimate, so we start the initiation with Meiko, saying, we need this tower, let's go. Oner becomes the target, and he takes a lot of damage at the start of the fight as 369 keeps Zeus out of the fight. JackeyLove on the backline, the ultimate connects onto the front, and you think at this point it's dangerous, but look at the damage being done by Creme as well. Follow that up with the ultimate from JackeyLove, and it is a one-sided fight as T1 is forced to retreat.
And I'm going to be honest, I was not excited about Static Ship Jhin generally until this game, and now I am a believer. JackeyLove single-handedly convincing me. Aurora, on the other hand, I did believe in, and I think those numbers are starting to remind us why. This champion does a hell of a lot of damage and just makes it so easy for your follow-up CC to land, right? If you just put them in the circle, there's really nowhere for them to dodge.
And it's great to see from Creme as well. This year was the first time we got to see him on the international stage. Of course, no rookie by any means domestically, but as a player, he's really shown a lot of evolution, a lot of growth. Initially known as this kind of assassin type of player, especially known for things like Zakali, but this year especially he's come into his own, he's grown a lot, and now showcasing the Aurora, having huge impact in these fights. I hope he can maintain that performance. Getting a win against T1 would be huge for the momentum of top esports here at this year's World Championship.
You can't really imagine a better way for an LPL team to start this tournament, to start to rewrite everything that happened at Worlds 2023. T1 in a bit of hot water here as they try to get out of the jungle. Oner luckily still has the clone. They'll be happy to just try and get the Heartsteel proc, even though they didn't quite, and Zeus still pretty favored in that 1v1 as Tian now trying to get something started here, spotting out Zeus. Zeus still has allies to go back to, captive audience hitting those big. Ulti now to follow, they want to delete this Jax.
Good Ashe arrow there, stunning up Tian to allow for Zeus to then jump away to safety. The mid wave completely abandoned as both teams hover around the bot side of the map. Dragon spawning though in 10 seconds. Will give an opportunity for Zeus to go back to base, spend what gold he can. Has the TP available, not going to spend that much, only picking up an Aptome and a control ward.
Yes, pinging on the Baron, starting to move up, get a bit more control up there just in case T1 try to leverage their position to start Drake.
The beautiful thing about this game is it's showcased already. Oh, hang on.
Faker kicking things off, but only catching the jungle, only catching Tian. The Deadly Flourish not going to hit, luckily, so he will not get rooted. But
I mean, that's a crucial ultimate missed. JackeyLove once again, not forced to expend any summoners. Dragon, though, secured for T1.
But the good news is he buys time for his team to take the Drake, and TES in the meantime can't go start the Baron or even really set up better positioning. But T1 need to be careful about approaching here. Twofold Hex not going to connect. Meiko off to the side.
About 45 seconds until Faker's ultimate is back up. T1 have to play defensively until that moment. I mean, I feel like Top Esports should set their sights on the top tier 1. An easy objective for them to secure, but at the same time, they don't want to concede this mid tier 1. It gives so much access into the jungle. You don't really want to give it away completely for free. But it does look like Top Esports slowly shifting their attention towards that top side of the map as Reset's starting to come through. But they're cautious about the potential Baron. T1, they don't have any vision.
And T1 have a pretty quick Baron, all things considered. TES much slower. T1, of course, I mean, historically, they had that year where they were just the 20-minute Baron team. And I think it's something that has to be in the back of TES's mind as they go for these
T1
resets.
Barons is still
still a thing. I think it's less, for a while it was like the thing. I think it's
for sure.
less emblematic. Still in the toolkit though. Something they're going to have to respect. Guma catching the mid wave. Resets now coming out. Preshow in the bot lane will be responded to by TES. And the next big objective is this Baron, and T1 looking to clear out some of this vision, potentially set a trap.
Crucially, the Infinity Edge done for JackeyLove is a huge power spike. Bit of an interrupt there onto Keria, but of course, on this Rakan, he should be able to get away to safety. That tower in the mid lane so low as Faker turns his attention towards top. Creme does have a bit of an experience advantage over Faker. If he's able to catch that top wave, he'll be a full level over him. Faker's been over-grouping a lot to set up for plays with his team. But Zeus comfortably winning this matchup now.
Flash, nice reaction from 369.
Does, of course, expend that summoner spell to get away to safety. The trade in vision, the back and forth. Neither team confident in setting up for Baron.
I'm going to be honest. The 26-minute 0 gold difference between two teams, this is what Worlds is about.
I'm sorry, what was even more beautiful was that it was a period in time where the gold at the top of the screen was 4-4-4, 4-4-4, and I just feel like the Jhin would be proud of that moment.
I'm just saying the Jhin fans are eating good this game. Most certainly.
You got a quadra kill, 4s across the board.
Yeah.
All right. We're setting up for the Baron, and as you talked about, Top Esports are hesitant to just start it off because they have Jhin. And as we've already learned this game,
he kills very good. Everything else?
Unfortunately, you know, we're in season 14, only 4 bullets. He has to reload.
Crazy what they do.
But he's in a very powerful position. And
I mean, 3.5
the thing
items.
is, what I will say is Top Esports, I feel, have very easy objectives on the maps to play for. On the maps, on the map. They're pinging out the bot tower right now, and I think that that is the easiest one, given how low HP it is. But also, I'm sure they'd love to secure that top tower as well. They were able to get 2 in the mid lane, but these tier 1s are crucial because it just makes it easier to move into the enemy jungle,
yeah, it certainly
right?
does.
And it allows you to get deeper push on these side lanes, which buys you more time to then regroup and then look for plays on the map.
But I think you can see that 369 doesn't want to overcommit on side. He doesn't have TP. They don't want to send Creme to go up against the Jacks, and it puts them in this awkward situation where, yes, they finally get the tower, but it took a lot longer than they would have liked. Now the setup, though. Line of skirmish drawn. Tian just looking to bully his way in. Certainly has a big enough health bar. TES taking control of the area. They have mid push. Guma going to respond. Some of this vision will get cleared out. The dance, the classic Baron back and forth. You push, you take what vision is there. Maybe you can start it, but neither side really with a big enough advantage on side to begin that objective.
It's been a very tense affair for the last 5 minutes or so. Neither team has tried to force that fight, but of course the Dragon now a minute away. This will likely be the next big objective that both teams set their sights on, and the fight there could even determine the Baron, depending on how one-sided of an affair it could be. Faker very far away from level 15. A little bit behind in terms of gold. As we look towards the bot side of the map, there's about a 1k gold lead still for JackeyLove. Experience, though, pretty even.
Yep.
And Gumayusi still comfortable when it comes to itemization.
And again, a lot of the reason the gold is close is because Guma was able to get so many plates early on, whereas Jackie really was not. It's the kills that have balanced things out for him. As we get later, I think, you know, Mountain Drake, not always my favorite to see, but I think when you have a Wukong against so much physical damage, when he naturally already gets so much armor for free, JackeyLove has to continue to play these fights excellently, because Oner has a very easy time to just ignore so much of the damage that JackeyLove can put out. Now, admittedly, getting closer to a completed armor penetration item for JackeyLove, but this next fight might still be a struggle to burst through Oner's health bar in isolation.
TP's committed.
And red pot for Oner as well. Wants the physical vamp.
Keria needs to be careful here. We'll get away to safety, leveraging the blast cone. Once again, Zeus with the push-in bot allows T1 an avenue into the river while top esports main take control around mid. They're going to start the objective themselves.
T1 very split right now. TES, 5 members strong, giving respect to that clone. Last time the clone was the real thing, and they were caught off guard. This time around, they're not looking to take that risk. Keria threatening. Zeus waiting behind, Contaxian off his support. Objective getting lower and lower, but they've already got it on the side of TES. T1 now going to go in and try to get the picks on 369, hoping that maybe they can get the Baron in the meantime, but TES are already out. Zeus now getting chipped away at. Not really much there to play, but Faker again trying to make the play happen. Instant follow-up coming in from Keria. Zeus off to the side. They're going to look to delete 369, but JackeyLove is still standing tall. Zeus going in 1v1 versus JackeyLove, but he's all on his lonesome. And as long as that AD carry's standing, as long as that mid laner is standing, TES are winning the fight. Guma with nowhere left to go. The bullet doesn't even hit him. He's dead as it's flying. Shut down coming in. TES barreling down the mid lane.
That is a 5-for-0 ace, and Dracos, they can look to end the game right now. Another fantastic play from top esports, and as long as the carries were left untouched, they were able to clean up the fight. I think that's gonna be it.
So much of the early game was in control of T1. It felt like they come ahead in the lane swaps, but in the fights, TES have been better. The turns, T1 the ones who overextended in TES's jungle, giving those kills to JackeyLove costs them as TES take down T1.
And in a statement game, the early game looked a little shaky, but you talked about it, Dracos, the support staff on the side of top esports, Tian and Meiko, that jungle support combo, 100% kill participation for both of them. Creme quick to drop the ultimates down when ready. I mean, great team fighting from them.
Fantastic. As much as I love us talking about it, let's see what the analyst desk has to say about that incredible game 2.
Well, it's coming up, JackeyLove, and as a European fan, I've been on that side of things before, so I know how much it hurts. But what is particularly impressive to me is how it came off the back of a T1 that had that early game strategically
They were looking
completely
good.
in the bag.
T1 was looking good for a lot of this game until they lost every fight consecutively.
No, I think the early game was actually so much better than I had anticipated coming into it. For one, I didn't expect them to opt into the lane swap, but I really liked how they operated with Zeus in that. Through his demolish, they pretty much just got top lane after the first blood. A bit of a mistake for 369, but it's the way that now that there's no longer any top turret, they just push out top as much as they can. That gives Zeus a lot of time to roam around. He helps in mid lane. They have that played down in bottom lane. I gotta say, like the map movement from T1 in the early game, super crisp.
Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, look at the rest of the game. Look at the rest of the game.
It was fun. It was a fun game to just see back-to-back team fights. Like, even just the T1 fight that happened in the river where it was like, wait a minute, is T1 just going to win this thing because they got the kill on JackeyLove? I was like, okay, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah. We're setting up for the interview. That's why you're getting
we'll
us
have the interview in any second.
Yeah.
It's almost a little deflating because I was riding the T1 plot armor for a lot of the game.
Yes, you
Like, they
were.
could literally never get on JackeyLove.
No.
And Raz brought up during the game, like, something about the Aurora and her ability to protect the AD carry. Because if you just ult, you can never really get back there, and I don't think Jackie got like hit in any of the team fights.
The fun thing with this is even if the ult missed, Skarner would ult, drag them into the ultimate, and
Even
now they're
closer.
stuck in it.
It came to me like there was the mid fight, and I'm sure we'll talk about it after, but the fact that like Rakan tried. Rakan tried to get to JackeyLove and was just blocked because of the Aurora ulti. So I was like, this is going to be annoying.
Yeah, and then in the final fight, we thought Faker got this huge ultimate off, but it was just on 3 bruisers.
Yeah.
So it didn't do anything.
It looked very cool, though.
looked really
I was
good.
like, oh, here he comes.
I was out of my seat. I was ready for something.
I gotta say, there after that dragon fight, we were believing again. I mean, you've always believed, but we were like, okay, this is how it's going to be for the rest of this game.
I've been
But it
wrong a
wasn't.
lot this world. It's
Boring flawed if they just 3-0'd. Like, there need to be some ups and downs. You know, you can't let them have it all the way.
No, we are still waiting for the interview to get set up. I'd love to get like. Can I tease who it's going to be with, or do we not know yet? Who deserves to be talked to? JackeyLove?
Oh my God, it has to be
Love
JackeyLove.
He got
It
quadra
has to be JackeyLove. And the fans would just go crazy for him. So,
It's
it's going to be Tian.
Yeah.
I mean, that Skarner had a lot of one fight. Also, I know we'll talk about it, the entire Worlds, but Rell Skarner is just a cheat sheet. That if you get engaged on, you end up getting, even if it's 2 or 3 people, an easy go signal for Rell. A concern that I always had for Rell as a pick is like, how are you going to find that one fight? But that's a great fight to have if you have a Skarner that's grabbing 2 to 3 people that's trying to engage into you. So I think that's a great combo that we'll see for the rest of the world.
I mean, it goes both ways, because if Skarner can't find that ultimate where he finds multiple people, Rell will drag multiple people together, and then you find the Skarner ultimate.
True.
So it's really, they go hand in hand like that.
They do. And it's Meiko, of course, on Rell as well. You know, when it comes to finding engages, finding angles, finding ways in, we had a long delay and we didn't even talk about it, but it is something that's super exciting every time you watch TES specifically, and especially at Worlds. And wow, it's so crazy because we had our kind of pre-game expectations and I'm not saying pre-tournament expectations are now out the window. It was 1 best of 1, but
listen,
still.
The number 2 seed from the LPL versus the number 4 seed from the LCK. If you take history away from it, this wouldn't be a surprising result. As you mentioned, you know, wasn't that long ago that, or it's been a long time since MSI.
Yeah,
and T1
I mean, it feels like a long time ago. But I will say as well, I definitely thought that the top esports was about to choke this one. I was like, we've built them up. We talked about that domestic resolve. They're going to be a different beast this time around, coming into the international stage. And then that early game happened. I'm like, damn, it's kind of happening again, isn't it? But they managed to stabilize, so we're ready.
Yeah, it's time for the Verizon post-game interview.
Just keep going.
Tian, thank you so much for joining me after this first win at the World Championship. I want to start by asking you about Skarner, because it was one of the most banned and prioritized champion in the playing stage, but you picked it rather late. What is your priority of Skarner, and how much do you think it's going to be a central pick here at Worlds?
好的，恭喜小天拿下了这一局的比赛。那首先问题想要问到的是关于斯卡纳这个英雄。那这个英雄呢是在 play-in 阶段是最高 ban 率的一个英雄，但是队伍在今天 BP 选择的时候，好像是很后面才出来的这个英雄。所以你是怎么样看待这个英雄的优先级呢？或者说他的这个排位大概是一个什么S 级啊，或者这样的英雄？
首先斯卡纳这个英雄，我在 LPL 季后赛的时候就有觉得这个英雄非常强，然后 到了这个版本的话，其他英雄被削了之后，这个英雄就更突出了。然后的话，这个英雄自己掌握的其实还没有特别好吧，所以可能这个优先级排的在我们队里没有排到那么高。
So first of all, I think this Skarner was super power when I was in the playoffs in LPL, and right now since the other junglers has been nerfed, so Skarner's priority kind of increased a little bit. But I don't think I grasp all the knowledges of Skarner very well. That's why we got these champions later in the Bambi stage.
Interesting. Let's see how it evolves in the later stages of Worlds. Off topic, but I saw that your bot lane chose their solo queue EUW name based on the speech that you did when you got MVP. How did that make you feel?
那第二个问题想问到，其实在这2天我们关注到你们下路组在欧服的 ID， 一个是我就是我，我就是天。想问一下，这个他们因为这个是用你一个经典台词吗？你觉得对此有什么看法吗？
感觉我的队友一直在处刑我，一直在就是想看到我像2019年一样，我感觉。 欧洲的观众可能也会想看到2019年的我。
会想看到。So first of all, I think my team is kind of punish me, just like a joking, and I think they really want to see the Tian of 2019, and I'm sure that the audience here also wants to see the Tian of 2019 version.
It is a perfect transition to my last question. 2019, you won Worlds that year. How does it change the expectations you had about the upcoming run at Worlds you're going to have this year?
那在2019年的时候，小天曾经在这里举起了全球总决赛的冠军奖杯。那这样会不会是怎么样？对你在今年24年再次来到欧洲的全球总决赛会有哪些期待呢？
当我来到这里的时候，就走出机场，我感觉一切都非常的熟悉，然后空气也非常的让我有之前的19年的那种感觉。然后的话，我觉得。 现在我是在全新的队伍，然后一个全新的身份，我觉得2019年我都可以做到，2024年我觉得我们也可以做得到。
So when I came here, when I came out of the airport, I just kind of like the feeling is so familiar for me in terms of the air and a lot of things here. Just like when I played here in 2019. Now I'm in a brand new team with a brand new role. I think I can make it in 2019, and this time it's gonna be the same script.
wishing you the same success you had back in 2018. Xie. Thank you so much for the interview. Christina, we can't see you, but thank you so much for the translation. And that's all for us here.
Thank you so much. Hoping for the best, hoping for the same in 2019. Speak for yourself. I'm trolling, of course.
I take second place again for the LEC.
Nah, you know, once you've been to a couple of finals, you wouldn't get it. Then you definitely wouldn't.
We were in a finals. Unfortunately, LEC did that to us again, didn't it?
Okay. Anyways, all trolling aside, yes, we would like Tian to have that form of 2019. In fact, you know, when you look at TES and also how they played in this first game, including JackeyLove, it was phenomenal when it came to taking back control over this game. And I would like to take another look at JackeyLove's quadra kill in our HyperX Reflex replay. You said he's static shivving them.
It seems like that's what happened because he literally just had static shift at the start of this play, and at the very open, it does look like T1 has a strong engage with the Wukong, but then it's really just about how they turn it around. The Aurora gets down a lot of damage despite dying, and then Jackie, as you mentioned, gets hit by half a volley in this fight before blowing him up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the bouncing grenade together with that static prop. As you already said, if you don't know, it does more damage if it executes champions instead. Yeah. And that rarely ever matters, okay, with that item, but that was one of the few fights where you got to see the full value of it.
You did, and we saw it a couple of times after that again if we roll into our replay at 30 minutes where T1 could have still taken the game back or taken some ground back, I want to say, but TES completely shut the door.
Yeah, it was insane to just be able to see the fights, and for me, a lot of it was JackeyLove playing decently at a distance, not being in range of any of the engage. So like Oner's ulti doesn't turn into anything. They find like Zeus, who's basically alone, and just see, look at JackeyLove. Exactly, it was a nice ult, but where's the follow-up? Yeah. And JackeyLove's in a great spot to just fire off, so they were able to get the kill on Keria and the rest of them. And at this stage, I think they were already pretty far behind because of the fight that happened mid lane. So it was like a great engage, not a great follow-up.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it goes, of course, in tandem with the draft that TES decided to field. You said it already about the Aurora. What were you wowing about?
Just the difference, the big pop-up difference.
I mean, the fact that Aurora did the most damage in this game is a little bit surprising. So much of that damage is hard to see because we saw all the kills from Jackie, but when everyone was so grouped up, everything Aurora is doing is AoE, and it really just added up throughout the game.
It did.
And this goes back to me, because like when we're looking at the whole tournament expectation of what the draft is going to be, that's a lot of people what they've been asking is like, what's the draft priority going to be? And it's the Aurora. We've seen a little bit of it in Champions Queue in Europe, but it's just how flexible it actually is between mid and top lane. You can go grasp and all these things, and then just in those fights that we saw, yeah, T1's engaging, but the moment you see the Aurora ulti, the Skarner ulti that comes immediately afterwards, that's an amazing setup for your fight.
It's true, and maybe T1 will have to take some lessons as well. They saw that Jhin on the other side. They wanted to go for the Ashe they love so much, and in team fights, it just didn't work against this composition specifically. A lot of learnings, but when we come back, Gen G is taking on Weibo. We'll be right back.
That's another good game.
Not forced to expend the flash. Of course, T1 priority on the place. They're threatening the dive. A lot of TPs.
They are ready to dive this. 369, Renekton, how strong is it? So much CC. He lives for a little bit of time, but the wave is basically deleted. T1. Meiko trying to find the counter engage, but it might not matter. Still in the midst of everything. Tian is so damn tanky. They weren't ready for that, and Jhin might not kill towers, but he kills people pretty damn good. Zeus off to the side. They're going to look to delete 369, but JackeyLove is still standing tall. Zeus going in 1v1 versus JackeyLove, but he's all on his lonesome.
And Dracos, they can look to end the game right now.
Red Bull gives you wings.